You are listening to Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast, a podcast where we believe wrestling is a buffet and there's something there for everyone. Make sure you're following us on all social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook under Two Heels and a Face. That's number 2 Heels and a Face. Make sure you check out our website, twoheelsandaface.com.
Era, 2 heels and a face.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast. On today's episode, it is Charley running solo. Chris is stuck at work. And who knows? I mean, he's a father of 3. I will not judge him. I do not have kids myself. But work, being a dad, et cetera, things get in the way. But I'm really, really excited about the guests we have on today. They're friends of mine, personal friends of mine. We've been to multiple freelance shows together. They were wrestling fans even before they were introduced to freelance wrestling. So this episode is probably going to be a little bit of what I did. Maybe, was it a year ago? I'm not sure. A year ago, I brought some, for the past couple of years, I've been bringing friends to freelance and kind of, I guess, expanding the group, you could say, that I bring people to, bring people to freelance to, because I think freelance is just a fantastic show for anyone. You don't have to be a wrestling fan. If you like live entertainment of any sort, I think you'll enjoy freelance wrestling. So it was a couple of years back now, maybe. Brought some friends, my wife and a couple other people came onto the podcast, and they kind of gave their takes on what they thought of freelance. And it was an interesting conversation because they don't watch a ton of wrestling. And that's what I think was interesting to see, almost like a blank slate's take on wrestling and what freelance wrestling is. So these guys are about to bring on, they are in that same group. They are my friends, but they understand what wrestling is. They have watched a ton of WWE. They've probably seen other indies and other shows and things like that. But I'm really interested to see what they think of freelance. And then also, too, like what wrestling they just enjoy in general. What do they like watching WWE-wise, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I'm trying to get at. I did write about these guys on a blog not too long ago because they dress up every show and they always kill their costumes. They always do really well in terms of costumes. I think they were absolutely robbed this year at the costume contest. So I've already said my piece on that, so we won't get into that. But it's a pleasure to have these two on. Dave and Anthony, two of my friends. I'd like to welcome you to Two Heels and a Face. What's up, guys?
What's up, Char? Thanks for the introduction, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks.
Of course. I'm going to do a clapping sound effect. Let's see if I get this right. Can you guys hear that? Yeah. What's up, guys? Is this still happening? Oh, my God. Okay.
Ooh, standing ovation. I love that.
Yeah. Standing ovation. There is a please come back. Is this a please come back? It's a welcome back. Welcome back. I guess it's not too. I guess this is your first guy on the pod. Chris usually does the production stuff. I don't. That's okay. We're figuring it out. But yeah, it's great to have you guys.
Great to be on, man.
Yes. Dave, Anthony, two of my friends. How has your day been? You guys just been chilling today?
Absolutely, man. We have been today. So Anthony volunteers at the place I work at, the school I work at.
Cool.
And I think every time that we pass each other, we just went for some knucks. We're like, all right, like one more hour down, man. Like we were definitely ready for this. There's no, talking wrestling, man. We would do that for free, I think, if we could. So yeah, I mean, we do it for free, as we should say. So it is great to be on, man.
Absolutely. No, it's cool to have you guys. We're going to talk a little bit just about your love for wrestling in general. I think that's like a great place to start. And we can go like one by one on answering questions, right? Dave has to say, Anthony has to say, and vice versa. But then I want to talk about some freelance wrestling as well. and
Awesome.
kind of get your perspective on it, because it's definitely different than watching WWE, right? So I wanna get your, but it's still wrestling. So this is a question that we ask everyone. It's a very broad question, but everyone has pretty different answers. So I'll start with you, Dave. What is it that you love about wrestling?
You just never know what's gonna happen. You know, you have like predictions. You have, obviously we all have our stories that we built up in our head. We have things that, you know, we have wrestlers that we love, wrestlers that we hate. We have things that we just want to see unfold. And even when things don't go the way we want to, we know that in some turn of event, there's going to be something that's going to be coming our way. And, you know, obviously there's some predictable moments in wrestling, but overall, when you're just watching whatever product you're going for, whether it's an interference or someone coming back or a short count, there's just so many different things. You know, I really love your guys' intro, the buffet. And, you know, Charlie, I think one of the first conversations we've had about wrestling, you know, you had brought that up to my attention. I'm like, you know, that's just a great way of looking at it. You know, there's just a little bit of this and a little bit of that you can just put on your plate and, you know, and enjoy it. So yeah, that's definitely what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, all the different variables for sure. It really is an art form that keeps you on your toes, so to speak. And they love the surprises. Anthony, what about you? What do you love about wrestling?
What I love about wrestling is that I like to see like the big returns, like the big storylines, the whole gimmicks, seeing like who's the face or the heel, and right from there, I just like to see some backstage stuff like fights, stuff like that, and some of the some guys and girls.
You love the divas.
To me, it doesn't make a difference, but yeah, either way, I just like to see that kind of a good wrestling.
Yeah, I feel like your answers are kind of the same, where this is an art form where they build you to surprises, right? Though they might lull you to sleep for a little bit, and then they try to flip you on your head with some kind of wow moment. I think that's really cool about wrestling. It could be cheesy at times, but that's kind of what we love too.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
That's great. Anthony, how did you get into wrestling initially? Like, what are some of your first memories of watching?
When I first started watching wrestling, that was back probably 2010, maybe like around 2008 or 9. The one of the great matches of those ones. One of them was the when John Cena was he had a choice with the Nexus and with Wade Barrett's team, and with the whole thing with the big storylines, and they made it really cool way of doing things, and that's when I first started watching it.
Yeah. Was Cena kind of an early attractor for you, watching him?
He had some friends and then some like allies and enemies of the team, and they all came. Some did and some didn't. Of wanted to be back. They were actually, so their last match was with the Nexus was at SummerSlam, and that was when John Cena made his team for the for the whole thing.
Yeah. No, that was. I remember that. I don't know if I was watching it at that time, but it's definitely one that is referenced a lot. Is the whole Nexus takeover. Dave, what about you? What are some of your early memories of getting into wrestling and being attracted to it the first time?
So my earliest memory, I don't know if you remember the Smashing Buddies, the WWF Smashing Buddies back in the day, like probably late 80s, early 90s. And my uncle, who was probably, I think, 8 years older than I am, so he would have been at like an age where he was really into wrestling. I was still really young, so maybe like 3 or 4.
Okay. I definitely had a few of those. Yes.
Yeah, I had the Macho Man. And as a kid, you don't really, the storyline, you don't really grasp, but you just like the larger than life kind of spectacles that's going on.
Yeah.
So
fair.
I remember just like Macho Man, and like as a kid, you're just in awe. You're like, oh my gosh, that's a person, that's a real life person, and just having such a blast. Wrestling with the wrestling buddies, and then I started collecting WWE action figures or WWF action figures back in the day, which has been a lifelong hobby of mine. Oh, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
We're going to be sharing the screen a little bit, but I just brought them on the screen. So, yeah, this is the one I think I had was the Ultimate Warrior one.
The Warrior, man. Those are great. Those were so much fun. They're actually bringing them back. They got a whole new line of those guys.
Okay.
So, yeah, I had the Macho Man. There's a really good picture I remember that I have when I was younger. I was just like knocked out after having an intense wrestling match with my Macho Man. And honestly, that's where I had my first set of stitches. I was jumping on my grandma's bed with the Macho Man, and I fell off and I hit my head off the corner of a table. And my mom at the time, she was doing like samples and surveys. So she'd be like Dominic's or Jules or something like that. And she'd dress up as like a costume promoting, like, for instance, Oreo. She was a giant Oreo. And my grandma called my mom and was just like, hey, you need to come home. David split his head open. He's got a hole in his head. And my mom faints in the Oreo costume.
No.
Taken to the same hospital I was at. So that was a result of an intense match with Macho Man, which I think that I would say that I lost. But yeah, as I got older and like you start like, as fifth grade rolls around, the Attitude Era is at its early dawn. And then, then you start to really piece things together. And you're like, oh, this is awesome. So, yeah, those are some of my earliest memories. It's kind of, yeah, I mean, I don't really have a memory. I don't remember an age where I wasn't really into wrestling. It definitely varied over the years, but.
Sure. That's great. I love she got to you one way or another. She ended up getting to you via the hospital instead of actually driving to where you were. Macho Man must have dropped that elbow on your head and split you open.
Oh yeah, man, it was a big one, a big flying elbow.
It's a funny story. I love that. I love that finding the different ways people get into this. Was there ever that, Dave? Was there ever that lull period of like where you didn't watch, or do you stick like through like consistently watching?
So I did consistently watch. The time that I think I had a little resentment toward it was, back when you're just an impressionable fifth grader, it's like, are you a WWF fan or are you a WCW fan? And actually, I leaned more toward the WWF side, and it was just like WCW was just not my cup of tea. The wrestlers I liked were Sting and Diamond Dallas Page. I was bitter toward the Outsiders just because they left WWF earlier, and that didn't fly with me. So when they did the merger and the invasion angle, and all the WCW guys started coming to WWE at the time, I was a little standoffish. But yeah, that was the time I'd say that was my lowest interest in wrestling.
The invasion stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you like the two companies separate? Or could you not see like them being together? Like, what was the reason for that?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Sorry, it might be a little cutting in and out. But what was did you just enjoy the two companies separately, or like when they merged? What kind of turned you off in that moment?
It was just like, oh man, like these guys were our competition, and now they're just on WWF. Like I was like, no. I mean, looking back, I'm like, that was so stupid to think about because there's so much good talent, and when like. On WWE Network, you can go back and look back at how many classics WCW really produced. But yeah, it was just me being a stupid early teenager, just being resentful toward it.
Yeah, well, there was loyalty kind of in them. I mean, you could have loyalty during the Monday Night War. Like I was hitting the last button to flip back and forth between the two. Yeah. But I would say if I had to die on a sword, I would probably have died on WCW sword just because I was a huge Sting mark.
Yeah.
So. I get that. What are you, Andy? What is your favorite stuff to watch now? I mean, I know you're watching WWE, but like, who are the guys you're paying attention to now that are wrestling?
I mainly like, of course, the Bloodline, which is the
nice hat.
Thank you. I like the original one, which was with Roman Reigns.
Okay.
And I gotta go for like Randy Orton. Sheamus is good.
Okay.
I also liked Edge. Cena, of course,
Of course.
and then CM Punk.
Okay. Are you you're more OG Bloodline then?
Yes, the OG Bloodline.
Because I have not necessarily caught up on WWE, but I did watch a SmackDown over the Thanksgiving break with my cousins who are like all 100% have followed the Bloodline storyline. And it felt to me like OG Bloodline had a Wolfpack vibe because like some of them started bad and then went good. And then like the solo Bloodline was the NWO Black and White, because I was like kind of like the start of of that faction, and then it splintered and Roman left. Dave, is that an accurate comparison or no?
Yeah, I can see exactly where you're going, because Solo stayed true to the, I don't want to say evil Bloodline, but if you look back a year ago where the Bloodline was at, like they were heels, they were not really favored. I think people really enjoyed the Sami Zayn angle, which I love that he's back with the new with the OG Bloodline. I think that's awesome. But I see exactly what you're saying. Solo stayed true to their evil ways. That's kind of where they're at. So the split with the NWO Wolfpack, bringing in the new guys, seeing some more face. Well, how do I put this? Like, I don't think Roman's like a true face right now, but
no,
I see what you're saying. Like, there's some levels of goodness behind him that we're seeing, along with partnering up, especially with CM Punk at Survivor Series. I thought I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but afterward I was like, that was the right move. I thought for sure they were going to bring Rollins in, but I thought that would have been just like a little too cliche. But wherever route they're going, I don't know, but I think it's awesome.
Yes. Anthony, what did you think of Survivor Series? Are you happy the OG Bloodline went over and that whole team? Because Punk was on that team, right?
Right. Like how Dave said with the whole thing there too. But I liked when CM Punk saved Roman Reigns on that table, and then he think the guy who I was thinking of is Jacob Fatu. He was trying to hit Roman on that table, but he missed it for maybe because he was weighing the top of the structure of the
the cage,
and right from there I thought, I was like, oh, there's a really good chance he's gonna miss it until Punk got in there and save Roman right from there.
Is Survivor Series, Anthony, is Survivor Series a pay-per-view you've always like enjoyed watching?
Mainly, yes. I like to watch like so many others, but mainly I like Survivor Series a lot.
Is it just like the team up aspect, like the 5 versus 5 kind of how they always have those traditionally?
Right. Mainly, yes, I like to see that too, but I like to see like good like Raw versus SmackDown or the other way around. And I like to see like how there might be like a good return, or someone could come back and get back into the arena and go through the ropes again.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah, no, it seemed like a successful pay-per-view, and like I said, and I think as Dave mentioned, like the Bloodline has been like the main storyline that people have been following. I keep up on Twitter or and just like kind of check in on WWE a lot. But Freelance has been my main focus for years. We'll get into that. But before we do, Dave, let's talk about dream matches.
Oh, nice.
What a transition was. What are some of your biggest dream matches, Dave? And you can add a match stipulation if you want, but like, what is some stuff that you haven't seen that you want to see?
A dream match. I was just talking about it, and I'm a big Guerrero guy, and I think,
Yes.
unfortunately we lost him at a young age. And, looking at his career from like in his early start with WCW or even ECW, and just seeing where he's progressed over the years. And I just feel like, we lost out on some really great matches that we probably could have had. But like a Guerrero Michaels feud, I think would have been just amazing. I think the talent between the both of them and their level of cockiness, and I'm talking like, let's go to like 2003, 2004 Eddie, where he was right developing that cheat to win style. And, we even look at like the 97 Shawn Michaels era where he was, the screw job era, where they're just both kind of had, I don't want to say demonic ways, but they just had deceitful ways is the word I'm looking for. I think we could have had a fantastic ladder match between Guerrero and Michaels for the IC strap. I would have liked to see it for. I think that would have been great. That's a tough one. That's a tough call. Who I want to win. But I'm gonna go Guerrero on that dream match right there.
I love how you pulled two wrestlers from different eras of their body of work, which is, you've been thinking about this because you could have said like, I think Michaels had came back by 03 or 04. But like you could have said that Michaels, but no, you went 97 Michaels. 97. You put a little year annotation on that. 97 Michaels versus 03 04 Guerrero. But yeah, oh my God, the machismo.
Oh man,
to steal a word from Razor, but like of those two guys and the cockiness of them, that would have been perfection. I love that. Anthony, what about dream? Have you thought of any dream matches? Have you dreamt any two people clashing together?
I mainly thought of as we were talking on here. I thought of some couple more, but yeah, I like the like CM Punk versus John Cena feud. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I liked Edge versus The Undertaker. That kind of feud. That was also a really good one.
So, A-Dog, if you got to pick like two opponents to wrestle that probably have never wrestled before, it could be any, like if you were the general manager of SmackDown, you could make any match that never happened, what are you thinking? You could do like Randy Savage versus Cena or something crazy like that.
Okay. If I see something like that, I like to see Goldberg versus the Big Show.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And the other one I can think of is Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey and Randy Piper.
Oh, I love that one. Okay. Because I was gonna say, yeah. If you're thinking Goldberg Big Show, I got a clip that I can send you later, Anthony. But with that jackhammer, I don't know if you've seen that, Dave. I'm sure you have. But when the Giant gets jackhammered by the Goldberg, I think that might blow Anthony's mind. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, dude, you got to send it to us. I don't know if I've seen that one.
Okay. That might blow Anthony's mind. But Anthony thematically just made maybe the best mixed tag that could ever happen with the Flairs versus Ronda and Roddy Piper at RIP. But yeah, have Rick and Charlotte ever tagged together? Because it feels like that's something they would try and do, but maybe not.
Have they, Anthony? Have they ever been a tag team?
Maybe as a mixed tag, but I'm not sure about a tag team or not.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. I like that. And as Anthony stated earlier, men, women, whoever they are, I like to watch them wrestle. So that would be a great mix. I love that. Great. Anthony, if you were, let's say this week you get placed in the Raw general manager role.
Okay.
Currently, what are some changes or matches you're making? Like, what would you do immediately? if you get placed in that role?
Well, if I was the general manager, I would have been making some demanding stuff and make sure nobody gets into trouble or any backstage fighting or anything like that. That I probably should be on the top of doing by.
So, like, would you have a championship? Would you set up like a championship match? I know, like, Gunther is the champion right now.
Right.
Would you keep that? Would you have him challenge anybody else for the belt?
I would, yes.
Okay.
Who do you think? Who would you have go against Gunther?
I can see a couple of guys facing Gunther. I can see maybe right now I would say Braun Strowman, but I know he's out hurt right now.
Okay.
I can see him. I can see the then I can see Damian Priest and Finn Balor.
Be good.
Okay. It sounds like you want no riffraff. I think the first point you were getting at was no riffraff backstage. You're shutting all that down.
But yeah, I'm going to shut all that down. Sorry.
Okay. Would you no interfering in matches? Would you even allow that, or like is that automatically?
Well, I probably like stop all the chaos back there and try not to think of all the yelling and going screaming and losing tempers and.
What would you do with Braun Breaker though? If he lost it, would you suspend him?
That's
because he's not taking any. He's not taking any rules from anybody.
Right? Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. I probably not sure if I wanted to suspend him right away, but maybe I would have done maybe try to give him maybe a warning or something.
Yeah,
smart move.
That's fair.
Instead of going the whole thing with
suspending him,
right? For suspending him and stuff like that.
That's smart. Ease into it a little bit.
Right.
Dave, let's not even do a general manager for you, Dave. You're Triple H. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Triple H. You have to now book what comes next with Roman and Punk, because that kind of feels like that's a thing. How are you booking this going into? Because I mean, I would say we're pretty much on the cusp of WrestleMania season. I know that the Royal Rumble is kind of the start of that, but like, how would you book the Punk Roman feud, assuming that's going to be what they lead into?
So I would really like to see a continuation of the Bloodline, bring us to Royal Rumble. And I mean, realistically, I don't think it'd be a bad idea. And I obviously toggle with this a lot in my mind because, you look at Heyman, he just managed some of the best wrestlers that we've seen. Having a Lesnar return at Royal Rumble, leaving the last three in the ring, Lesnar, Roman, and Punk. And something Paul pulls some of his Paul Heyman strings, and we get the winner. I'm going to go with Punk. I'd like to see Heyman and Punk reunite. And then that kind of just opens up the doors for Elimination Chamber. I'm not really sure how Brock would fit in that, but I think a really cool three-way somehow to do with Heyman leading up to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I think that would be pretty sweet. But I didn't anticipate a Punk Roman feud, but I mean, I think that's where my mind runs. As much as I love seeing them get along at Survivor Series, I'm like, that ultimately has to go that route. I think it's just very unique. They're two very unique characters who have just really built up over the last 10 years in wrestling, specifically with WWE, and especially like just Punk's route. I mean, him leaving in 2013, I believe, and then doing his own thing, going to AEW, coming back to WWE. Hell froze over, he's back. I think a Roman Punk and somehow tie in Heyman with that as well.
That would be interesting because it's almost like three. Let's just use an analogy here. Let's say Heyman is the girl in the situation. It's almost like three guys fighting over the same girl, a little bit, because he's managed, or I guess he's managed all of them, right? I say at least at some point, I think, and he was trying to like kind of stay neutral to the Punk and Roman situation. So it would like force him to kind of pick a side if there was some kind of triple threat. And then whatever side he picks, that's the person who wins the match. And then that leads on to WrestleMania and things like that. So, no, it'd be like, instead of like a love triangle, it's like a love square.
Yeah, exactly.
Or some kind of thing, or just a really poorly shaped triangle.
It's our love triangle.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Cool. Okay, I got like maybe one more WWE question, and we can get into then some freelance stuff. What are Anthony, some of your favorite women's wrestlers? And I use the term diva as just a reference, kind of like what they were previously called. Obviously, like they're not called that anymore, and that's fine. But like on the women's wrestling side, whether that be a manager or a wrestler, Anthony, like what are some of your favorites of all time in terms of the women?
Favorites of all times would be one of them. I had to.
He's smiling. He can't stop smiling. He loves this question.
I had to go for my first one would be Kylie.
Okay.
She's my first one. My second will probably be Shadow Slayer. She's good. I like to see Sasha Banks to come back.
Okay.
I like to see what else is good. I know there was a girl named Caitlin. She was in she used to be in the NXT back in a long time ago.
Okay.
She was good back then. And if I pick one more, it will probably be the Balor Twins.
You stuck in an extra there, and I love it. I love it. So yeah, that was basically bringing it to 4. Almost seems like it's a Mount Rushmore, which is a good way to answer the question. Which I love that. But I love how you just snuck in an extra person. The Bell Twins are one entity in your eyes, which is great. Now, okay, Anthony, if you were to do 4 male wrestlers, competitors, what is your your Mount Rushmore? Your 4 for guys.
For guys, I do like to see Braun Strowman.
Okay.
I definitely like to see Braun Breaker.
Oh, Anthony, this is your 4 favorite wrestlers of all time. Your 4 guy wrestlers.
I like those 2.
Oh, okay.
And then I can go for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Love it.
And there's Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
Nice.
You got some big hosses in there, and mixed in with the WrestleMania 14 main event. Austin and Michaels. I mean, you can't argue with those 2. All right, Dave. Mount Rushmore, men, women. Start wherever you want.
Let's go with men. I'm going personal. It's going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, Macho Man Randy Savage, Eddie Guerrero, John Cena. Those are my personal, I think, 4 that have been the biggest impact.
I love it.
Throughout my life.
How many of those people have you dressed up as?
I believe it or not, I was Cena back in 2007. I don't have a picture.
I just knew you were. I just knew you were.
Oh man, I had the throwback Mitchell and Ness jersey or whatever when he was the Dr. Thuganon, which was awesome. And I wish we got to see that one more time in his career.
Maybe. But isn't he not, he's not done, right?
He's not done. I just don't know if I want to see it now. I think that show has more to say. For women, I am going to go with Trish Stratus, Lita, Asuka, and Rhea Ripley. Yeah.
You just ripped them.
Yeah, man. They just come to my head, and I just think of the performance, their charisma, their ability to tell stories. Especially, man, those early 2000s, just when women's wrestling was just at like a breakthrough, when we weren't just seeing like Marlena tag along with Goldust, or even like Jacqueline and Mark Marrow and Sable. I mean, I know they were kind of like the pioneers with WWF back then to really bring into women's wrestling, but I mean, when you look at like Trisha's work and Lita's work, and that early 2000s was just awesome. And just watching women's wrestling now, and it's just like when you talk to people who don't follow wrestling anymore, that might have just watched it only in like the 90s, and you're just like, no, dude, like there's times that like women's wrestling just surpasses so many of the main events. And it's just like, I'm happy that it's coming to a place right now where that's being accepted, and like people are talking about that, not just kind of brushing it off like, oh, that that doesn't really interest me. So yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's really cool to see how far that they've come over just the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah, I love that you said Trish. I think Trish was like probably my wrestling crush growing up.
Yes,
which is fair to say. Like, I think every a person has had a wrestling crush, right? And I love the Asuka pick. I think that's like underrated. Her NXT run where she was just like choking everyone out, and she won her long title run. So cool. Cool. I'm very, very pleased with all of that from you guys. Okay, cool.
Charlie, do you mind we ask you, man? Can you give us
four? Yeah, absolutely. That's great. This is great. I don't really get many questions at me. Final four Mount Rushmore for males. I think I would, man. Okay, so I have I don't know if I've selected my biased Mount Rushmore. I think I'm going to answer unbiasedly. Okay. Or no. I'll do a little bit of a mix. I'll sneak in one bias person. Because I think like biasly, I would have Sting on my Mount Rushmore. I think if I take a step back from it and I answer it objectively, I don't think Sting makes it.
Okay.
Because I think Sting has a special place in my heart. But if you look at if you compare Sting's, maybe if we were just talking about how a wrestler looks, Sting would probably be on the performance. But I think Sting had a 10 out of 10 look. I think his promo was probably a 7 out of 10. I think his in-ring was probably a 7 out of 10 if you think of it objectively, like compared to people. But I just loved him personally. And like the Crow Sting is like my man crush. That was my man crush growing up. Like I wanted to be Crow Sting. So I'll sneak Sting in. He's a completely biased pick. So I'll throw Sting in there as one. And I think you have to do Austin because of when the wrestling was at its peak mainstream wise, he was the most famous wrestler. Like, I think he's a cultural icon. I think and then I would put in Shawn Michaels because of his in-ring ability. I think like in-ring, he's one of the most entertaining people. And I am really gravitated towards like, not necessarily just the moves, everything that's involved in an in-ring performance. So like Taker Michaels WrestleMania 25. I haven't seen every wrestling match, but that is my favorite wrestling match I've ever watched. And then I'd probably throw Hulk Hogan.
Match? Was that HBK's retirement match?
No, it was the year before.
Oh, okay. Still a classic, man. Oh, man. Yeah. Emotions were high.
Yeah, because they did back-to-back, right? I think they did 25, 26, if I remember correctly. So it was the first time they did it. And then, so Sting, Austin, Michaels, and the fourth one has to be Hogan. It has to be. I understand, like, I want to say this. I understand that Hulk Hogan is a problematic character. I understand that he has an ego the size of planet Earth. But I also understand that he put wrestling on the map in a lot of people's eyes. If you're doing that, your ego probably inflates. So, like, I guess I understand why he has a gigantic ego and he's a pathological liar at times. We don't want to get into that. Let's talk about the positives in this instance, because he put wrestling on the map and made people watch it in the mainstream, and that's what carried it into the Attitude Era. So like he has to be talked about. And obviously just like how big his star was. So Hogan, Austin, Michaels, and then Sting is that one bias pick. I think like
it's a great pick, man. It's a great list.
Yeah, I think I've toyed with that last one. I think like if I were to not put bias in, it'd probably have to be Flair or Taker.
Yeah, Taker. When you just look at his, when you just look at his career, it is hard not to argue like him somewhere in the greatest. It's just unbelievable what he's done and reinventing himself and still being relevant. And and then you just hear the stories from like how he was like a locker room hero and like his locker room like the man, like, oh, we got to run this by Taker. And like, you just hear that he was a very respectable dude. It wasn't like he was all in for himself. It was what was best for business. And I think that just says a lot about who the guy is.
Yeah. I think longevity plays into it. I think like if you were to tear down the current WWE Hall of Fame and you were to start anew, just because I know there's people in there who deserve it 100%. Then I know there's kind of people in there that are, there's like the whole celebrity wing and stuff. I think it's a little watered. It's like it's a little watered down. But I think you have to factor in longevity. And that's why I have so much respect for like the Big Show. People like rag on me when I will throw Big Show into like certain ranking lists, but like the guy did it for so long. And like longevity kind of has to be a factor. So yeah. Agreed, Undertaker. I mean, the longevity thing, like people watch old clips of Undertaker and like, that's the same guy. I'm like, yeah, it's the same. It's crazy. But no, I appreciate that question. I never get questions asked. So you flipped the script. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, of course, man.
Before we get into the freelance, anything else rolling around in the wrestling WWE brain that you wanted to rant or get out?
Just so you mentioned Hogan, me and Anthony actually had the pleasure to meet Hogan. He was signing his new beer at Kenwood Liquors in Oak Lawn. And just a really so nice
random.
Dude.
I love how random
it is. It really was so random. It's like all the places. But we were in line and we're talking to a bunch of people. Some people have met Hogan in the past, and even some of his relations people were coming out and they were like, "Hey, there's not enough. We don't have enough tickets for everybody. Like, you're just better off going home." And you could see they were trying to just cut the line down because how long it was. But talking to a couple people that have met him before, they're like, he will wait until the last person is there to meet him. So, you hear, things, whatever, personal things said, obviously, like that there's things, but I think that generally says something about who he is as a performer. Sure. And, like you said, I mean, Hulk Hogan is professional wrestling, whatever you think about the guy, but where he started off with to where we're at now, like, there's got to be something to be said that a lot of that credit goes to Hogan. Yeah. So just, his contribution to it and still contributing to it, especially with his fans, seeing people of that caliber that are that in the 1% elite still will wait hours to meet everybody. I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, agreed. I think he deserves credit for 100% things like that and being good to his fans. 100%. Cool. Okay. Freelance Wrestling. So you guys have won 2 years in a row, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Have you guys been at any other indies before, Freelance?
Yes. There used to be a promotion called, or I don't know, Anthony. Yeah, Anthony actually has. So there was a promotion back in the early 2000s, PCW, Professional Championship Wrestling. I want to say they're no longer around, but that was where I first got introduced to the indie scene. And I don't follow the indie scene very much, freelance with you, Charley. But I mean, if there is a local show like that's by, I do love the interaction. And, as you had said earlier, like freelance just brings something that's so different, even if you're not a wrestling fan, if you're just live entertainment fan. And I think that can be said to, independent wrestling as a whole, if you have no idea what's going on, but going to a smaller scale where it's just really in your face, the crowd interactions, the wrestlers interacting with the crowd on a smaller scale is better, like as much as going to a live Allstate arena is awesome, without a doubt. But like being in that venue, like the Logan Square Auditorium, I think is just so cool. Like, you just feel the energy over there and it's on more of a personal level. And going to a sold out crowd at Allstate, which obviously there's energy there too, but it just hits differently.
Definitely.
And then Anthony, do you want to talk about when we went to see Jackson P. Larkin at the VFW? That was another indie scene we went.
Oh yeah, I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, back when we were seeing
Jackson JPL.
JPL, thank you. So back when we were watching him, it was probably during that night, and the whole thing with the with Larkin and stuff.
Okay.
It was probably one of the best matches that he fighted, and we were like super excited to see all of their like all of them, and we were live on TV, and it was probably a greatest thing that anybody could go to and to watch it, and to me it was a pleasure and a great time, and also a great night as well.
You got to meet all the wrestlers and take pictures?
Yes.
Yeah, that was cool.
I love that. So, okay. So in summary, familiar with the indie scene, the vibe it brings, not foreign to it, because I think when I first got introduced to the indies, I was like shocked that there was this level of talent at a local level. I could pay $20 to see them, like et cetera, et cetera. Didn't even know this was a thing. I don't know where wrestlers come from. Maybe they just grow on trees, but I just didn't know that they came from there. Came from like, almost think of it as like single A, double A baseball, et cetera. So when you're asked a couple of years ago to go to a freelance wrestling show, how did your expectations align with like what you saw? Like Dave, you mentioned like the atmosphere in Logan Square Auditorium. You get there dressed as Eddie Guerrero with your wife who's China, which was, I think, made it very far in the costume contest, like maybe kind of like Final Four area. Like, how did your expectation differ from when you got to freelance, or was it the same, or did it exceed that? Like, what you had in your head versus what you saw that night?
It exceeded 1,000%. You know, like I went. The show I went to prior to that was at a VFW in Indiana, and I thought that was really cool. Like, I love draft beer and just places where you can literally just truly unwind, and the rustic atmosphere. Like, I'd never been to the Logan Square Auditorium before my first time at Freelance, but I was just like, if I were to construct a place to host indie wrestling, like, that is 1,000% it. I don't know if you ever played the original Fight Night 2004 for PS2. It's a classic, but in the first gym that you box in, that's exactly what it reminded me of. It was just like, I don't know, it just had a really cool vibe to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
it was a EA Sports boxing video game.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so it brought you back to that.
It brought me back to that, yeah. Just and you know, back in the day, I used to box at Windy City Boxing Club in the city, but
cool.
Those old cool buildings, or it's like, you know, the good wooden floors, like every structure is really sturdy. Like, those little things, I think, just really add up and just add to the character to the place. And then you get into the you know, where the ring was at and the crowd, and just seeing, literally, you could look around and everybody was engaged. There wasn't one person there that looked like they were not having a good time or scrolling their phones or looking, you know, to leave. And that's been true to every show I've been to since Freelance, you know, or since that first release show, which just goes to show like what an amazing group, what an amazing fan base that Freelance has and has built over, you know, the time that they have been around.
Yeah. Anthony, what did you think walking into Freelance that first time or the second time? What did you think of like the atmosphere in that venue? Like the lights and the production and everything.
With everything, I like the whole entertainment and the universe, to see getting their tickets and going in and looking at the whole stadium. It doesn't matter what state or anywhere that you want to be going to.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Mania has always been a dream of mine, but I would also like to go to that kind of a show too. But
Yeah.
I just know that for anywhere and anytime, I just like to see a really good wrestling show,
Okay.
and it just makes people happy if they like it or not. But I know that if some people don't like it, like how they describes it about with the by either leaving or going, and I know that we enjoyed it, including yourself, and for the three of us here, I know that things are that we enjoyed of watching it back of the old times and then the new times and with the whole entire thing.
Yeah, it's time. Wrestling is timeless. I love that you could use the word universe too. The freelance wrestling universe. I love that. Taking a page out of Vince's playbook with that. I'm going to put something. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put something on the screen now. But we got to talk about these costumes right here. Fantastic. So, if you haven't seen this,
oh, that's great.
Chainsaw Charley, Cactus Jack, Shades of WrestleMania 14. Obviously, they're in the middle, and then I'm on the left. I'm on the left, and then Matt's on the right. Our friend Matt. But just fantastic costumes. I mean, you guys were dressed up 2 years in a row. That was the most recent one. Can you tell, like, what was the conversation like kind of leading into that about being those two wrestlers, and just tell me how that came to be.
So I don't know what Terry Funk is. He's just a legend. We know that, and he had a very brief run as Chainsaw Charley. I think he made less than 5 appearances as that character in WWE, WWF at the time. But I just always loved it. I'm a big horror movie fan, so I love the playoff of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Again, like that Royal Rumble of '98 was iconic. I think it was a dumpster match between Cactus Jack, Chainsaw Charley versus New Age Outlaws, or it might have been WrestleMania. One of those.
I think it was WrestleMania 14.
14.
That might have been awesome. 98 might have been the year. I don't know, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Regardless.
Yeah, there was the Royal Rumble. That was the year Austin was back to back, and then that WrestleMania for that dumpster match was awesome. But Mick Foley was actually going to be signing autographs in over in Palos Hills that weekend, and I was going to surprise Anthony with going to go meet him, and we were going to dress up. I was like, I'll be Chainsaw Charley, and then you will be Cactus Jack. And he's like, okay, I'm okay with that. And I actually used freelance as an excuse. I'm like, we're going to go to one of Charlie's wrestling events, and we're just going to dress up for it. And then, I didn't buy the tickets yet to go meet Mick Foley, and then Sinead, my wife, she was just like, hey, Charlie texted the group, do you guys want to go to the wrestling show on, I think, October 25th? And I was like, oh, no fucking way. That was an excuse I was using all along. But I was like, yeah, no offense to Mick Foley, if you are watching this, and if you're not, you should be. But realistically, I was like, it's just such a fun group that we have. I'm like, I can't pass it up, and I can still do the Chainsaw Charlie gimmick along with Cactus Jack. So that's how that all played out.
Yeah. So you were looking for an excuse either way to dress up and sprinkle sawdust on yourself.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Cool. Did you enjoy, Anthony? Did you enjoy dressing up as Cactus Jack?
I did, yes.
Love it. I love it. You guys were so good. I think that on another day, if you didn't go up against a Dan the Dad lookalike, because the crowd loves Dan the Dad, we all love Dan the Dad, I think you guys would have made it very far. Unfortunate. But
we'll be back next year for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Let's keep doing this. If you guys are down, I'm down. Okay, I'm going to show you I have 4 freelance wrestlers lined up. I'm going to show you 4. I'll show you the picture. I'll say the name. And even if you can't remember this person wrestling, just give me what you think, like first impression wise. But if you remember the person wrestling, I want you to tell me like what you thought of them. Does that make sense?
Wait, Char, you're breaking up. You're breaking up a little bit, my man.
Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Check, check.
Hey, Charlie, I'm sorry. You kind of broke up a little bit over there. Can you just repeat that about?
Yep. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. This is sorry. I think it's my internet, but we're gonna get through. This is the last part.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna show you a picture of a wrestler. Tell me what you thought of them or think of them. Even if you don't remember them wrestling, just give me like your first impression of them. Okay.
You got it.
Okay. This is a freelance wrestler. His name is Trevor Outlaw. He's some words that I won't say because I want to be nice. Dave, let's start with you. Do you remember Trevor? He came out with Frank the Clown, which is Mick Foley's son-in-law. Any opinions on Trevor Outlaw? You can just unleash on this guy if you want.
Trevor Outlaw. Charlie, I honestly don't remember him, but he's got the little leather look going. The little Frankie Goes to Hollywood, LA Knight type of style.
Okay.
I'd have to double check his match. I'm not familiar with him, but
he's forgettable. He's forgettable.
He's forgettable. Okay. He's a hard pass. All right, Trevor Outlaw.
Anthony, any
a hard pass, man. That's a biased view right there.
Any opinions on Trevor Outlaw, Anthony?
I know for sure I haven't seen him, but I think he's like either like the NWO kind of thing or like the LA Knight gimmick kind of way of away from Hollywood, but I could see him like in a motorcycle crew somewhere in there.
Okay, maybe he's got kind of the LA Knight haircut. Is that what's kind of giving off that vibe? Is it the haircut thing?
I thought it was the vest.
The vest. Okay.
Vest.
Okay. That's okay. Vest. We can forget about him. She wrestled, I believe, in the main events. She's local. All these guys are local, so that doesn't mean anything. But,
okay.
Kylie Ray. Dave, you have any strong opinions on? And just got WWE ID, which I think means kind of signs. I don't know the exact, but
that's awesome.
Kylie Ray.
Is she who beat Grayson Storm?
Yes.
Amazing. That was one of the biggest upsets I did not expect to happen. I think that she deserved every bit of it. I was blown away. It's just not something you see, and I think that was a great way. I don't know how long his reign was, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. He had the strap for quite some time, right, Charlie?
Over a year. Like I think it was longest ever. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and for her coming in and beating him on that night we were there, I thought that was awesome. So yeah, she's all right in my book.
Okay, Anthony, thoughts?
Thoughts. I think she was a phenomenal wrestler, and I also think that she's like the Bailey's hugger is like a gimmick or something like that kind of thing. But yeah, I can see that she could be a great one out there, and I know she does everything in the ring and including her, just give everyone their best and then make it shine.
Yeah. No, it's true. I think that the bubbliness 100% is how Bailey started out with that same type of bubbliness. Kylie has that naturally, and she works that into the ring as well. So that's actually a really good comparison. Okay, Dave mentioned this guy. It's kind of a grainy photo. Storm Grayson. Dave, do you have any thoughts on Storm Grayson?
I think he's great. I think that he plays that Naperville gimmick off so well, and I love that he just goes off of the heat that he gets from everybody outside in the arena. And before when one of the first shows I went to with you guys, it was after the show ended, and I passed him, and I was like, "Oh man, great work today!" And you can tell that I didn't know that he was a heel at the time because he looked at me like I had like 3 heads. He's like, "Why are you saying nice show?" Or like, "Why are you thanking me?" Like everyone here hates me.
Yeah,
But, like it was cool to see him still like I don't know, still in that character. When someone can catch that much heat and still perform, I think, you know, whether I like you or not, as a character, I think that it speaks to who you are, you know, as a performer. Right? So I thought, you know, I think he does a great job with using that heat to just, you know, amplify his persona in the ring.
it's funny that you say. Is there any bias because you have a ponytail and he has a ponytail?
No, if anything, I mean, I'm with the team anti-Naperville, so like I'm cheering against the guy as well.
Fair.
But yeah, man,
yeah.
no, good, yeah, good. You know, good guy had good, you know, charisma and stuff. So good stuff.
It's funny that you say that because when he used to be a face and people would still boo Naperville, so it was like it was just kind of waiting for him to turn to the dark side. It was like, why aren't you? And then like he slowly went over there and he ended up being actually a really good heel. Still, that's great. Anthony, Storm Grayson, any thoughts on that guy?
I do. So for me, I can think of if you hate him or like hate him or you do like him or not.
Yeah.
I know I will have to say this straight out, but I had to give him his due, and because he's doing whatever he needs to do in the ring and out, and he's putting his body on the line, and that's for everyone, for as men and women. But I can see that everybody's doing it for us and making sure that we don't try this at home. But I just like to he looks for sure a jacked big man, but I just think that he's a big dude.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Big dude.
It's true. He's got the body. He's got the body size for sure to make it. Okay, last one. It's a little bit of a bias graphic because we've had him on the podcast many times. He had what kind of like Freelance is. I don't want to call it secondary, but it kind of seen as almost kind of their intercontinental style title where it's called the legacy title. It was the blue belt that was around. But Coda Hernandez.
Oh, Coda's the man. This guy's
go off, Dave.
We saw him at Freelance the couple times we were there. He's just got a really interesting way that he brings in the crowd. I love the gimmick. I love the bandana. And we went to Windy City Thunderbolts game sometime last summer, but they do some indie wrestling on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And he was there, and you know, it was cool because there were so many people that got there when the Thunderbolts game started, but no one was in the audience. Like everybody literally was just going to get a good spot for the wrestling show that was like 2 hours away. But again, like just that fan interaction, just hyping everybody up, like especially after you sit through a 2-hour ball game and then still watching some wrestling. And I just remember when he came out, he was in the main event of that night and just had everybody charged up. It was just cool, you know. Like when you get to see a wrestler that just can engage an entire audience, no matter the size, it says a lot who they are. It says a lot, I think, where they're going to be going. And that's something that I think is a skill that not many have, and like his in-ring ability as well, in addition to his fan ability of capturing their attention. Good stuff. Yeah, Coda, you're good, man. You're a good man in my books.
I love it. That was very well said. I love that you jumped at the bit too. That's great. Anthony, Coda Hernandez. I'll show you two one more time.
Thanks. Yeah, the way how he is, I can think of I can tell that he's from I can tell he's like a Latino
Orale.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, I think for me, I can think of which is that to me, like I know that he's into that kind of a wrestling, like a
Like a lucha style type
Yeah.
of thing? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I was
Well,
gonna say
he's kind of like
lucha.
he's got some of that, but he's like a gritty street brawler almost. It's almost like an Eddie Kingston or like, someone who does. He's got a lot of hardcore matches and spots like that under his belt.
He looks more like also like a high flyer, and I like high flyers, and I can see like a couple of cool moves that he can do as a high flyer.
Okay.
And I can think of some other ones, but I could tell he has a charisma, and then with everything else in him, and that's all I can think of.
No, it's accurate. I mean, I think we saw him in a ladder match when you guys went last time. So,
that's so great.
The high flying spots for sure. Okay, cool. I think that was everyone summed up pretty accurately, including Trevor Outlaw, who you can just forget ever exists. Just forget that man ever exists. That's what I usually do. So it's great. Awesome. We're through an hour and 6 minutes. I enjoyed talking with both of you. It probably flew by in your head. That's what these usually do, especially when you're having fun. But yeah, any closing last words or thoughts from any of you?
Yeah, I do want to mention one thing, which is kind of an ironic thing that we're on here right now. But about maybe 12, 13 years ago, I'm in this very bedroom I'm in right now, and there's blinding lights coming from my neighbor's house, like nighttime. I'm like, and my neighbor is an electrician. He's usually tinkering around outside, so I thought maybe he had just something going on out there. So I look out, and there's just huge can lighting that are just stationed all over my backyard, and a wrestling ring back there. And I think this honestly might have been the origins of freelance wrestling. My neighbor, I'm not going to drop his last name, but his first name is Alex. And him and his group started in his backyard doing all wrestling stuff.
I think I know who that Alex is. But
yes. Yeah. And as you and I talked, I was just like, I had no idea. And I talked to him, we during the summer, we're always watering our gardens together. And he's very about it. He goes, yeah, I sometimes go there every once in a while. But then I was just like, wait a second, was that like when you guys were putting that ring in there so many years ago? Was that like transition into what's the product eventually came? And he didn't give me a definitive answer on that, but just piecing together from what I talked to you about and talking to him about it, it almost seems that might have been like some origins of freelance. But yeah, it's just a super small world, because I didn't really even talk wrestling with him up until the last couple of years. So, yeah, that's good stuff, man.
I think that, maybe like if you want to dig deep in the annals, or I could send you this link. Probably one of the times we had Matt Nix on. Matt, his first name's actually Nick. Ring name Matt Nix, but like founder of Freelance Wrestling. I think he's got some stuff of that group. Go into like a warehouse, and they started in the backyards. They were yarders. And so maybe I'll send you that. You might find a little bit of it interesting, but I think Alex was probably in that initial bus that rolled up to the warehouse for some initial training, and it became Freelance Wrestling, and it's taken the Chicagoland by storm. So yeah, I think we're on the same track there. It's really ironic. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then lastly, I just hate that the super kick is being misused nowadays.
I knew something was in there.
I'm just, you know what? I thought about it this morning. I was like, if I can get one time to just talk about something different,
do it.
I don't know if the wrestlers nowadays are just not tuning up the band, but now I'm seeing cats getting hit 7, 8, 9, 10 times with a super kick and still kicking out. Back in the day, HBK hits you one time, odds are your lights out. So that's all I want to say. I just wish professional wrestling community would stop abusing the sweet chin music. That is my piece.
Yeah, that I think it's fair. Do you think who's more responsible to blame, the Young Bucks or the Usos?
I'm going to blame the Usos just because. I'm going to put the blame on the Usos. Yeah.
I wanted to see if there's any bias there because
No.
you love the Bloodline, but they use it a lot. The Young Bucks
Mhm.
use it a lot. Not everyone uses it. It's kind of just it's the equivalent of a kind of a right-handed punch at this moment.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with you, but I also it doesn't turn me off when a match is happening, but I get your point. 100%. Okay, Anthony, any closing words or things you want to get off your chest?
Well, I will say is thank you, Charlie, for doing this for your own time.
Of course.
And of course, from heels to your face, of course, a great way to putting this all this together.
Yep.
And just want to say this was what is also a lot of fun to do a wrestling podcast as well as my first time. But either way, I just want to say thanks and I enjoyed it.
That is so kind, Anthony. Thank you. No, I appreciate both. I appreciate your guys' time as well. So I appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it, man. 2 heels and a face. You guys are great,
Yeah.
dude. We're gonna be checking you guys out. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah, sorry, it's cutting out. We gotta go. The internet is not agreeing with us, but we had a fun conversation. That's the number 2 heels and a face.com. Number 2 heels and face on all socials. And yeah, continue to go to Freelance Wrestling. We just did a episode last week. If you're like, when is the next Freelance Wrestling show? Go to the episode right before this, honestly, and listen to that, and you'll get all that information and tickets and AEW and anything else local. Not AEW, AAW, and all of that good stuff. Okay, take care. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie.
Yep.
Thanks, Shark.